the topic we'll be discussing today is an interesting one. So if you are watching us on this show today, I need you to pause. Follow us on our Facebook at Bago Media Centre, on our Instagram at Bago Media Centre, and also on our YouTube page at Bago Media Centre. So today we are going to be discussing skill acquisition program and empowerment too. And so these are things that are very important in every government, and we are going to be working through all the stages of this with professionals who are going to give us all that we need to know about what this sector is all about. So my name is Ambassador Isyaku Baba, and then I'm joined by my co-host
Hadiza Abdullahi Kano. Well, I think just like you said, today we'll be discussing skills acquisition.
Yes.
That's one major important aspect that I think any serious thinking government needs to put into consideration before coming on board.
Correct.
Yes, and I think we're glad to know that, we're glad to inform the viewers that the incoming government, God willing, of Right Honorable Umaru Bago will take this skills acquisition into consideration to ensure that we have a lot of youths off the streets.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, so starting by my right, Honorable, I'd like you to introduce yourself so that pick it up from there.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Ibrahim Abdullahi. I'm the Managing Director, Sand Hills Ventures Capital and Consultancy, and I'm glad to be here on this show.
All right, we're also glad to have you. Another professional whom we are really glad to have you here. So, can you introduce yourself?
Well, the name is Farouk Umaru. I'm a freelance consultant on MSME's development. That's all I can say for now.
All right.
We forgot to also mention that he is actually a politician too.
Well, honestly, I enjoy the humble introduction. It is akin to skill acquisition program, and this is not something that every government actually do take into consideration. And of course, it's one sector that we must really put effort towards exploring so that we'll know how we can pave way for a lot of unemployed youths and then give them employment off the government. And also this goes further to giving them that self-confidence, self-sufficiency, and also to eradicate a lot of extremes of poverty,
especially interestiveness.
Especially
that's the major cause of lack of skills acquisition. We find so many youths out there without skills, and then in the end they become burdens to the society.
So, but wouldn't take the topic from the
I'm sure they're itching to join the conversation.
Right.
Well, you have already started on a good note, and you have already introduced the topic and why we're here, and as well as the importance of skills acquisition in every society or community. The truth of the matter is, it's not important, but extremely important. And if not the most important aspect or segment of our society. Now, why are we saying this? Over time, we talk about Europe, Americas, etc. But the backbone that hold those economies, when you hear of GDP, GNPP, is just entrepreneurship, simple and short. It is not government. It is when you have people that have things to do, when you have people that are employed, when you have people with requisite skills, vocational skills, technical skills, that are using those skills to add value to the system. That is when you will have a much meaningful development in the society. And we can go on and on and on and on. One thing I would like us to know is that, one, in the past we used to talk about white collar jobs. it will interest us to know that even the colorless jobs are not available. Not to talk of white collar. Now there has to be a sector that will fill in those gaps. It will shock us to know that as at 2021 or thereabout, about 4 million Nigerians are being thrown into the labor market every 12 months.
Wow.
But both the organized private and public sector can only take about 120 to 150
Wow.
jobs. Where do we leave the rest?
In a country of over 200 million
and counting.
And counting, exactly.
So, if we take that figure, where do we leave the rest? Now, I'm talking globally, but let us localize it to Niger, because Niger is where we should start from, being our home. Another survey conducted by GIZ in the year 2020 shows that in Niger State there's 3,291,105, if that figure is correct. Just about a little over 3.2 million working age population. But out of that working age population, just about 1.7 are in the labor market. That's about half of that. And even half of that, about 666 are underemployed. 666,000 are underemployed. So these figures, I'm not giving them out to alarm us, but so that we will know that these jobs are not available. But what have we done? What has the government of Abubakar Sadiq Sani Bello done in the past so that the next coming administration will build on those successes? There are various skills, entrepreneurship, and acquisition that have been done in the past. And that is why this figure has come down drastically. I can tell you categorically that as of 2016, when the government came in, figures from Sweden shows that Niger State has about 367,000 non-entrepreneurs. Non-entrepreneurs that are into various forms of business, one thing or the other. But due to various programs conducted by MDAs, we have been able to up that figure from where it was then to about 460-something thousand, meaning the government of Abubakar Sadiq Sani Bello has given jobs to about 100,000 people in the last 8 years of his administration. Now, this is not local. Before some people are accused of manipulating these figures, this is from Sweden itself. So basically, what is the importance of having people employed? It will increase your revenue. It will give jobs. It will increase your tax. It will bring down youth restiveness. It gives people a sense of belonging. Because those jobs are not there. I think for me, let me stop here and give some space to
Ibrahim Abdullahi
equally chip in some few things before we proceed.
Farouk Umaru has explained so much the importance of skills acquisition. He says it, in fact, it's extremely important, not just what we think. And he has given us, I think, a background of what this present administration has done. So basically, what he has told us from the few little we've heard, it means that any government that is coming in has a lot on its plate. So why do you think the incoming government of Right Honorable Bago, because we are assuming we have won the election already, what do you think they have to do to up this and inherit?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I think looking at Niger State as a whole, we have to go back to the drawing board and look at the kind of entrepreneurship that would excel amongst the youths in Niger State as well as the people of the grassroots. And talking about that would be deviating to social entrepreneurship. Because social entrepreneurship is the type of entrepreneurship that supports the particular environment. And Niger State has a lot of blessings that have not been exploited, have not been explored. I'm not undermining the previous administrations on the aspect of skill acquisition, but a lot has to be done to meet that gap. Talking about Honorable Umaru Mohammed Bago, I admire his resilience and steadfastness on youth restiveness and seeing youth being engaged and people at the grassroots level. I would mention Bago Foundation is one of his key achievements in addressing this. And we have seen a lot of pictures of items being distributed to women and youths for them to acquire a skill and go and dwell on that. But another thing is the discipline is not really there in the minds of the youth here in Niger State. So first of all, they need to be reorientated. That what my fellow co-speaker said, that the white collar jobs are no longer available. Like I said, social entrepreneurship is one of the basic areas the incoming government have to look at, because you have to look at what the state supports. First, I would suggest agriculture. The land is there, and the weather supports it. I am a meteorologist by study, but I am an entrepreneur by profession. So I know the business terrain of Niger State, and on the aspect of the climate, I know that there is no crop that Niger State weather cannot support.
Including the cash crops.
Yes.
Great.
But have we exploited this nature that God has given us? I don't think with the landmass of Niger State, the Ministry of Agriculture should be waiting for subvention from the government. It can operate from the operational cost, meaning the Ministry of Agriculture can come up with so many ideas on how they can address this youth unemployment by engaging them into farming, both including poultry and the rest. They acquire the skill, they are trained, then they are given the startup, as well as they would have a repayment pattern. At the same time, they would be monitored. At the same time, while this is ongoing, they would be incurred to pay taxes. And it's not going to be an easy thing, but all that is required is just a government that is willing to see that it addresses these challenges. At the grassroots level, you have to look at what exactly the environment supports in equipping them. And like he said, if you look at back in the days, we have this mentality of going to the primary school, to the secondary school, university, for the purpose of we would attain our white collar jobs. But if you look at the educational system now in Nigeria, from the nursery to the primary, they are meant to choose a trade,
correct,
which is the skill acquisition, which I know, if you look at back then, when you think of acquiring a skill, they look at it as a distraction to your education. But now we're going back there. We're seeing the importance now. And that's why you see, even from the school, as the kids are growing, they make them learn. And the best time for you to learn is when you're a toddler growing. Because kids do what they are told to do. And when they grow with it, you would see that they're perfect in that aspect. So on the aspect of the skill acquisition at the grassroots, we would have to just look at what those environments support. If you go to Makwa, there can be like a suggestion for a bigger trailer park. That would bring employment, it will generate revenue. The environment there, fishing is part of their major source of income there, as well as farming, rice. If in that environment, I tell you, a lot of mineral resources have been discovered in those axes, but have they been explored? No, they have not been explored. Even in Mina Metropolis, I don't want to mention, but a lot of geological surveys have been done, and there has been discoveries of a lot of mineral resources. Have these things been put into use properly? These are areas that the incoming government needs to explore more on. They need to see these areas. How do we make like you said, maximizing the potential in these areas? And how do we use it to address, first of all, IGR, internally generated revenue? Because once the IGR is not boosted, whatever you try to do is not sustainable. Secondly, how do we address the issue of unemployment amongst youth by using these areas to engage them? A lot of investors can be invited into Niger State, tell them of your potentials, give them your bylaws on what they should do. And part of those bylaws could be 70% of their workforce must be indigenous of the state, whether it's mineral exploration, whether it's mechanized farming. You have to give them conditions. So locally, you're touching the people of those environments without even them knowing, based on the nature of what is there.
The interesting thing actually is that Ibrahim Abdullahi has actually been educating us a lot. And the good part about it is that from the little we've heard from them, at least we have a glimpse of people that we expect to see in the next administration.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we can see already, I think like there's a roadmap already ready for that. So I think we'll go back to our candidate himself. You have a question?
Yes, and then I feel the grassroots are the most affected, and also they are the top beneficiaries of skill acquisition programs. How do the next coming government, especially the government of Bago and Yakubu, what are the expectations that we should expect from them, as a government that is coming to bring these things on board and ensure that a lot of people benefit from them? In terms of specifics, what are the things that you think they can do or they should do as a government?
I think first of all, we need to revive our vocational and technical colleges. Because most of them, or if not all, have gone under. I'm not sure there's any that is surviving. I'm not sure. I'm not saying there's none, but I'm not sure.
In an Institute of Technology?
No, not in an Institute of Technology. We used to have vocational training schools and technical training schools. I remember there was one that was very popular, the one in Ayagi.
That's correct.
Ayagi came up to me, I can't
Ayagi.
remember the full name, but I'm not sure if those schools are still in existence. Because those are places where you will learn first-hand skills by hand. Whether it's carpentry, whether it is electrician, whether it is whatever you think it is. So let us not confuse them, just like my colleagues have said. There's a difference between skills acquisition and entrepreneurship, but they are intertwined. Okay. So if we can revive, if we are talking of skills acquisition, if we can revive our vocational and technical schools, and will they be that attractive for our youth to go into? Another question. Then, of course, the next question, changing their mindset and orientation is very, very, very key. Because just like the Hausa proverb, you can take, is it a donkey, Nimako?
To the river,
To the
or
horse to the river, but you cannot force
Can't
it
force
to
it.
drink.
Exactly.
If the youths are not ready to learn skills, believe me, even if you're going to cut their head into two and put it in there, someone will remove the head. So someone will cut my head back into two and then remove it again. So we need to go back to the basic, and we need to make it attractive. We
Exactly.
need to make it in such a way that you can survive through this. It's your means of livelihood. Because even after your first degree, the jobs are not there. I always say that the jobs are not there. So what I think the next government will do, number one, reviving those schools and ensuring that almost every quarter there's one form of empowerment program or the other, just like the previous administration have done. Now, I have headed an MDA in the last 6 years that is into these skills acquisition and the rest. And I can categorically tell you that yes, almost on a quarterly basis, we do have 1 or 2 programs that we do organize for the youth, for empowerment, for entrepreneurship, etc. But the major challenge has been the need assessment evaluation. Now, what do I mean by that? You'll see one person is a beneficiary of various skills acquisition. He doesn't even know which one to. If there's a computer acquisition training, he's there.
He goes there.
If there's a poultry training, he's there. If there's a fishery training, he's there. So at the end of the day, little knowledge here, little knowledge here, little knowledge here, and at the end of the day, he's using none.
Jack of all trades,
Jack of all trades, master of none. So until we identify the right people that will man this, or that will fill in these gaps. And let me tell you categorically, the eggs we consume in Mina, I'm a practical person. I don't believe in too much theory. Most of the eggs we consume in Mina are brought in from iBabanaija. And that does not mean we cannot have enough poultry farms that can give us those products, that particular product. Of course we can. Just like my colleagues have said, there are gaps. So what we need to do, apart from the need assessment evaluation, there should be quarterly empowerment training, either by the MSMEs, Ministry of Works, Ministry of Youth, Ministry of Women and Affairs, etc. These are all MDAs saddled with one form of responsibility or the other, which is in tune with skills acquisition, entrepreneurship, and empowerment.
In few words, I would like you to also, because you made mention of issue of peculiarities as to skills, that can be explored or exploited in those. Can you shed a little bit more of light on, in terms of specifics, where the government can pick some of those peculiarities and empower people using those blessed environments that we have, or the lands that we have?
Okay, first of all, I think the mining sector should be taken very seriously. Recently, there is a discovery of a gemstone in a local government called Patigi in Kwara State, and I tell you, like, a lot of youths there don't even care about the government because it's a locality that only listens to the traditional rule. They mine and sell to Chinese people. But having heard of that, we have the same mineral resource present in so many states, so many local governments, in Niger State. And this is a natural resource that can be used to make marble, ceramic plates, and the rest. So, looking at the incoming government having this natural resource, instead of we exporting these things or selling it to the Chinese, why don't we even look for financial grants on how to establish those kind of industry here? Already we have the raw material that would be used. So why don't we bring such industries? We could develop them here in Niger State. Once they explore the raw material is there for them to buy. And once it's processed, we would even import to other states. That has added value
More
to
like
the government.
PPP.
Yes, of the day. And one thing that I would suggest to the incoming government is to use the topic of the day in addressing crime in Niger State. Yes,
This key.
Skills.
it's very important because most of these youths, yes, their orientation is different, but having had an interaction with some of these people, some of these miscreants, you'd see that they go into these things out of negligence because they don't have anything to do. It makes them relevant, and some of them intoxication. But when you engage them and change their orientation, I believe they could be responsible.
So the government needs to engage, people, and so that they can exploit the opportunities that are, in there for them. So I thought we should also take it to the audience.
Okay.
Yes.
We
So
should.
that we could hear from them.
We forgot to announce that we have a wonderful audience here present today who would also like to ask a few questions. Well, over to you.
Mohammed, I've noticed something, or should I say I've observed something with the numerous skills accusation that has taken place in Niger State here. Most of the beneficiaries, you see them after the training, they end up selling the startup, the equipment and everything. How do we intend to tackle this?
Now, I said the two questions are interwoven. And what I can categorically tell you that practically it is not the fault of the youth, but the fault of some of us that have been given that opportunity to either nominate or to shortlist. What normally happens is, even if you are not qualified, your name is just shortlisted because you know somebody that knows somebody. And in the end, even after various skills acquisition, there is no impact. So what we did before I left office sometimes last year, because when I got to the office in 2016, we saw what was done by my predecessor. 100 people trained in so. I would like to see those 100 people. Believe me, we couldn't trace anyone. Another 300 trained in so. We were only able to trace 34. Then in collaboration with Niger State Ministry for Youth and Sport, this is not an indictment. Over 700 trained. There is no data. And yet funds have been released. So what we have decided to do is to adopt a need assessment evaluation. Before you are even shortlisted, we will have to know whether we have a psychologist, we will have to know whether you are even ready for that particular training. Whether your name just appeared out of the blue, or you submitted your name and you are ready for that particular training. And I can categorically tell you that all that we have done while I was in the office, not to blow my own trumpet, those that we have trained, they are still visible, and over 85% of them are still in business as of today that I speak with. So what we intend to do, or rather what we will advise the next government to do, is to have a strong need assessment evaluation in the areas of shortlisting beneficiaries of various skills acquisition.
My advice to the incoming government would be perseverance should be a key thing to the government coming in, so that no matter how much negative results they get from the startup of amendment of this, they should not be discouraged on getting these youths engaged. So I think I'll round up with this.
I think we're not just saying the last word.
Mm.
I think we're purposely here for the White Cap Crusade. How confident are you, the incoming government of Umar Mohammed Bago?
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10,
Yes.
9.
Okay.
Wow.
What gives you that confidence?
Because his track records and antecedents speaks for himself. He has always been a winner. Against all odds, all records have been broken. So this should not be an exception.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Throwing the same question to you.
On a scale of 1 to 10,
Yes, sir.
11.
What gives you that overconfidence, sir?
Well, my answer will not be far-fetched from what my
said.
senior colleagues have already said. So in order not to consume much time,
Yes.
I will agree with what he has said. But my own scale of reference is 11 over 10.
That's very good to
So
know.
that's what
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. To all young and aspiring entrepreneurs out there, please listen. It is important for me to mention that there is a species of shark which when you put in an aquarium, the longest it can grow is 6 inches. However long it stays in that aquarium, 6 inches. However though, if you take that same shark from the aquarium and you put it in the ocean, it grows into full size. What this means is the environment controls the growth of that shark. And that's exactly how the environment controls the development of entrepreneurs. Your business circle, the people you would relate with in terms of business ground, they are the key factors to the success and the woes of your own business. So we must identify that, we must take that responsibility, and that is going to ease the work for the government that is coming, for them to also liberate us from the things that we're already doing. So I would allow you to think.
Okay, for the past 30 minutes, I think we have engaged two strong heads in the House talking about the incoming government and its plans for the youth. We had in the House Ibrahim Abdullahi, the Managing Director of Sand Hills Ranchers Capital, a consultant, and a Bago lover. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Also, we have our own Farouk Audi, a former Director General SMEs and Microfinance Bank, and also a former
Agency, not
contestant
bank.
agency, and I used bank. And also a former contestant, go to House of Assembly Center. I have to mention if you're a politician, so you can't hide that. So you have heard from everybody in the House. Youth restiveness will actually prevent any economy from thriving, and the way out is actually skills acquisition. So it's good to note that the incoming government of Right Honorable Umar Bago is taking extreme measures to ensure we have the youths off the streets, they're engaged and being very productive. Well, viewers, you have been watching the White Cap Crusade. This is a production of the Bago Media Centre. Being your co-host, Hadiza Abdullahi Kano, together with my host.
I remain my humble self, Ambassador Isyaku Baba. Stay blessed.
Bye-bye.